Hi, this is Dan Heisman, Philly tutor for Chess FM. This is the Improve Your Chess video series for ICC members. In today's game, we're going to look at an over-the-board game that was played at a relatively quick 30-30 rate. So let's get started. All right, white plays e4. This is an amateur game. Black plays e5. White plays knight f3, knight c6. And here white plays the Scotch game, d4. Black plays the pretty much only move, e takes d4, knight takes d4, and now the two main lines are knight f6 and bishop c5. Both these lines are very logical. You get out a piece, you make an attack. There's a third rarer main line, which is queen to h4, hitting the e-pawn. If you're going to play this for white, you want to kind of memorize how to play against queen h4 because it's a little tricky. If you play, quote, normal moves, it doesn't quite work. You have to know how to refute that. That's one of the ones you want to look up. But in this game, black plays queen e7. Now, when I first saw that, my question was, I wonder what white's supposed to do against the threat of d5 here. And knight up. And now d5 actually leads to a fairly complicated line where white can play. Let's check with the computer on that real fast. So knight c3. Let's force it to play d5. New variation. All right, so on d5, the computer says white should play bishop b5, counterattacking, bishop d7, bishop takes c6. Just playing on the other line, so bishop takes c6. If bishop takes c6, then white should just castle. If black counterattacks by castling, then knight c6, b takes c6, and I believe here queen d3 was the move. No, e takes d5 first. E takes d5 first, takes queen d3, and white has the faster attack. All right, so back to the game. So in the game, black doesn't play d5, which is logical. He plays queen to b4. And already the computer says white's winning, but it's not obvious why. So let's see if we can figure out why. The move that white should play, and he did not play in the game, is knight on d to b5, threatening to simply fork here. And black just doesn't have any great defenses to this. Suppose he plays queen a5. Then white can play bishop d2, threatening knight d5. If black plays bishop b4, of course, white can play a3. And that's no good. For instance, here, if he plays bishop d6, why bishop d6? Because he needs to guard that pawn. Then white can play knight d5 anyway. And now, basically, the queen is just about trapped. If the queen can't stay on the c7 square. All right, so this is all winning for white. So when your opponent plays these strange moves, sometimes it's worth looking around to see if there's any tactics. Because normally knight d b5, is the kind of move you play in a Sicilian, but not necessarily in this kind of opening. But here, of course, winning very strong. So white doesn't see that. He plays knight takes c6. Understandable, but not correct. Black decides to go for quick development rather than more pawns in the center with d takes c6. White simply develops the bishop and guards the e-pawn so that he can castle. Black plays bishop e7. White castles. Black plays knight f6. And here white should continue his development. Well, what are the pieces you want to develop next? Well, you could play rook e1. You could bring your bishop out, or you can get your queen out of the way. The computer prefers the solid queen e2, again, overprotecting the e-pawn and getting ready to develop the bishop.